right, so I guess we're going to be doing another one of these podcasts, surprisingly. There's been a big gap since the first one, and we all know that went over super well. So we're going to do more of them, because that one did so well. It's been like 6 months, 100 views. But I think that it's got like 10 likes and 1 dislike. That's something.
Yeah.
Someone disliked it.
Wait, well... Yeah, I don't think your drunken humor was appreciated in that first episode. Yeah, in the first episode. You don't read the comments, do you? Okay. All right. Good. Yeah, good. The game we're going to be talking about today is Indiana Jones: The Graphic Adventure. So this was the first one from 1989? You said.
Yes. The game was released in 1989 to coincide with the release of the film, and it was designed so that if you had seen the film, you could go along. The game would go along with it, or if you hadn't seen the film, you could still play it independently.
That was going into no. That was actually something I was a little worried that it would be too much like the movie, because I've seen the movie a couple times. And I was a little bit worried it would be like a kind of a stale experience, and it was and it wasn't, but we can talk about that, I guess, as it goes on. What is 256 VGA, 256 color VGA, or?
That's a lot of color back in the day. Was there any puzzles in it?
Yes. You played we actually got him to play a little bit of the game this time, so...
A little bit.
Yeah, he might have something more to say about it than just reading your notes like last time. So,
I didn't even see your notes.
Yes. Oh no, I read that right. It was 256 color VGA.
Okay.
Those were the graphics.
It was I thought the graphics were very primitive, but that was games. It was pretty typical of games of that time period. So
the one interesting thing about this, because it was an earlier game, it came out kind of right on the cusp when sound cards were starting to be popular, like kind of just starting to become more mainstream. So it's interesting to me that I think it supported like 4 types of sound, like PC speaker, and I think it supported the Tandy sound.
The 3 voice.
So, yeah, the 3 voice. But then it also supported AdLib and Game Blaster.
Oh.
Which was interesting. I think most people probably default to AdLib, but actually, because I rarely get an opportunity to play games that have Game Blaster support, I actually played that on my 286 machine, which has early Sound Blaster. It's not a Game Blaster or Sound Blaster card. Well, it is a Sound Blaster, but it's not a Game Blaster. But it's one of the earlier ones that have the compatibility chips in it, so it can do Game Blaster sounds. I played the game with Game Blaster sound effects, and what I read, a lot of people think that the Game Blaster sound effects or sound was inferior to the AdLib, but I didn't really sit and compare them. I didn't play it through twice with both or anything, but
right.
I thought it was fine. It was serviceable. It was I just wanted to do something a little different because
I just played the game through emulation through Steam. So they just used the PC speaker emulation.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought
Every time you play the game, you could have a different experience.
Waylon, that's not this game. That's it. I thought it would at least default to AdLib with the Steam. Can you even pick?
Not that I could see.
Huh. That's interesting.
It just went to PC speaker emulation, so the sound was pretty primitive for me.
Oh, I thought for sure it would at least default to AdLib.
Yeah. I was playing it through Steam on my laptop, and I just had a touchpad, and I found that the user interface was kind of tricky to use with a touchpad. I really needed to have a mouse. So it got a little tricky to try to. I guess if you're not aware, LucasArts games that use the Scum engine.
It sounds like a Captain Planet villain.
Scum engine.
Yeah, it's like a big pollution machine.
Now that game engine, they instead of typing in words like other adventure games or using a mouse and icons, it gives you a list of words at the bottom of the screen, and you select action words like use or do or open, and and you have to select those, then select the area on the screen where you want that action to take place. So I found that a little tricky to do with the touchpad of the mouse. But obviously in 1989, they weren't thinking about those sort of things.
But so other than being stuck to the PC speaker emulation, did you have any problems getting it to run through the Steam, like or whatever computer you played it on? Any crashes or bugs or glitches?
No.
All right.
No. When I wasn't sure how to exit it at first because there's no apparent way to quit the game, so I had to look it up on another
isn't
computer.
it a weird?
I had to hit Control-C.
Yeah.
To exit the game.
Well, I wonder. I think that's how you change when you start the game. At least when I played it through DOS, like I said, on a 286 machine, I didn't have any problems either, glitches or speed problems or weirdness going on, no crashes. But I think when you start it, it was like Indy 256, and then you have a slash, and then you could put in a letter to set things up. So it was, I think it was like /A for AdLib. I think it's /G for Game Blaster. But yeah, I guess maybe on the Steam version it just defaulted, but maybe there's a way.
It just runs it. So it doesn't really give you a command interface to access the game. You just double click on it and open it up in Steam, or go through the Steam interface to start the game. When I was starting to play the game, I had downloaded the Grail manual because that came with the Steam version of the game, which essentially was just a copy of the Grail diary.
Yeah, I thought it would be used a lot more throughout the game, but I don't.
Which, like the actual Grail diary, the reproduction that they did as a manual wasn't very useful at all. And I found getting started with the game to be very difficult because I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
So just to make it clear, the game is completely based on Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, the movie.
Yes.
I don't know if we made... Yes, he was in it. I don't know if we made that clear before, but this game is based directly on that movie. So
right.
It's very... it follows the movie pretty closely. It doesn't really deviate that much that I can remember.
Yeah. And that's what I was basing my gameplay at the beginning to start with, was just following what happens in the movie. But I found out quickly that there's a lot of little things that you have to do that were added in, like to solve puzzles, you need items and things that weren't necessarily in the movie in order to do the things that were in the movie. Like finding the Grail diary in the game. There was a little more involved than just...
Yeah, I'm trying to remember, because we completed these games a couple months ago, so my memory's a little bit foggy on all the parts of it, but I did write some notes this time, although not many. So, I don't know, we talked about the sound, we talked about the graphics. Guess do you want to do like the good and then the bad? Talk about the good parts of it and then the bad parts, like the puzzles.
All right.
So I guess parts. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, let's start on the good parts of the game.
It was fun that it was a Indiana Jones story. And so I'm a fan of Indiana Jones, so I say that is a good aspect of the game.
All I wrote under good is can go back. So I like it, but I guess that's a thing with a lot of LucasArts games that there's not a lot of those dead men walking situations, which I hate. Right. So like I think at any point of this game you can go back to previous locations. So if you miss something,
you for the most part that's true. There are some parts where you can't go back, but for the most part you can go back to other locations. Like you can go from Venice back to Barnett College. Yeah, if you forgot to pick up an item. But at certain points of the game, you can't go back anymore. Because I guess they just don't want you going back at that point.
Right, but it is set up in a way that you can't, miss an item, it seems. Like, the game won't let you progress unless you have all the items you need at that point. I didn't think it was a bad game, but I guess we'll talk about that when we're wrapping it up, but... there wasn't a lot of outstanding things that stood out to me from the game.
No.
So everything was kind of average.
Yeah, and it wasn't the puzzles themselves weren't very necessarily difficult. It was just like there was difficult aspects to the game. Like there's combat situations where you have to fight Nazi guards.
Oh yeah, that's just another. It seems kind of the same thing from Full Throttle, that like not quite as bad as the Mine Road or whatever, but it's just it's a adventure game, point and click adventure game, but it kind of shoehorns these sort of fighting elements in that don't really work all that great.
Yeah, especially like when you're at the castle and you're trying to find Indy's father. There's a lot of castle to search through, and items that you need to get through the puzzles are all spread out throughout the castle, and then of course there's Nazi guards throughout the castle.
There's rats in the catacomb section, but I don't. Maybe just in an image or something.
Yeah,
I'm just assuming there's rats.
But I think that you can see them scurrying around, but they don't. It's not like in the movie where you have to really deal with rats.
Yeah.
And anyway, when you're fighting the Nazi guards, if you're not very good at fighting, you'll lose a lot of life in just one battle. So when you go to fight the next guard, you don't have much life to deal with, and for me, I usually ended up dying.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I didn't do well at the fight. I think at one point I actually had to like go back to an earlier save and try to avoid fighting more. Yeah. So I had more health. So the few battles that I couldn't really avoid that well, I could actually get through them. But yeah, that was an annoying part.
Which I ended up getting very frustrated with the castle that I just went through a walkthrough to find out what I had to do to get past all the guards.
Oh, you cheated.
Yep.
Oh. That's okay. I didn't cheat at all in this game, but but I can't believe it. You cheated with the castle.
Well, I kept finding items and I knew what I needed to do, but I just couldn't get past the guards. And apparently there's tricks to
Waylon, that's a different game.
That's a different game with you didn't necessarily have to fight all the guards. There was ways to get around them by giving them items and things like that, and to find I just went to a walkthrough to help me find my way through the castle.
Did you have to do the free challenges?
Oh yeah, we'll get to that. Yeah, that is in that's but since you brought up the mazes, I have wrote down here castle maze and then health, because health was an issue, but
which I guess there was a health pack.
Yeah, there was
in the castle somewhere, but when I was first going through it, I couldn't find it, and I kept dying. And it was just frustrating.
It's so big. I mean, it's not huge, but it is big, and there's like all kind of different doors, and you're trying to remember. And then, I got through the castle part, but there's a just to let you guys know, I'll probably put it up there because I did take good footage all through this game. But when you get to these maze parts, the game kind of switches from a traditional side view, adventure game view to like an overhead view. So
like a parametric overhead view.
Yeah, but I got through the castle okay. I don't remember getting too frustrated with the castle. I actually had more issues with the blimp maze. Like because
that one I ended up just saving a lot, that took a lot of time to get through because of the Nazi guards wandering around the
dirigible.
Dirigible.
Yeah, I found that one like more annoying because it just seemed that one seemed a lot more like random, where the Nazi guards were, where they'd walk, or even when you entered the screen at a different time, or I don't know. It was just
there was a lot of walking back and walking forward. Just to get the guards to move around so you can get past them to get down to the biplane.
Yeah, and then you have to. I mean, it all kind of looks the same, and then you have to find and memorize the right route to get to the plane. And
they look at you.
No. But they do kind of follow you if you get in the vicinity, and I believe they're slightly faster than you.
Yes.
But, it just seemed like a little bit too much luck at that part. And I don't really like that kind of thing.
I ended up having to fight a few guards in order to get through.
Yeah.
There was no way to completely avoid them.
I definitely had to fight a few guards.
So I just kept saving and hoping I could get through the battles. And...
That's actually, the blimp part, it was actually a part where I actually did quite a bit, and I got to the maze, and I just, my health was so low, like I could maybe get through one fight, if that, and I had to start back. I went back and loaded a save file from before the blimp, because there are sort of multiple ways to get through some situations, and so when you're getting on the blimp, there's a part of this, like in the movie, when you get on the blimp, and when you are dirigible. I think it's a dirigible. I'm not sure I don't remember what the difference is, but I believe it's a dirigible, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think
is it one has to do with like a rigid frame, and the other is a non-rigid frame?
Sure. I thought dirigible was just another name for blimp.
No, I think there's actual difference. Right?
Oh, the Nazi airship.
That sounds really fantasy. I just think of a boat with.
It's a dirigible, not a boat.
No, I think a dirigible has where the air is, where they put the maybe we should call them zeppelins.
Yeah,
but
what
they
the Nazis would have called it.
Yeah, I think they have like rings. It's like rigid, and there's like air sacs. Whereas a blimp, I think it's all. It's just like a balloon when it's... But anyways, it's just way off topic. So anyways, when you get on the Zeppelin, I couldn't figure out, like, at the airport, like, getting the tickets. I couldn't figure it out. I knew there was...
That was tricky.
I knew there was something to it, but I couldn't figure out. And I got frustrated, and I was like, well, I'll just get on the blimp. And you can get through that part. You can get on the Zeppelin, blimp, whatever. I think I said blimp a minute ago.
Yeah. Zeppelin.
Yeah. So you can get on the Zeppelin, and there's a guy there, and he like takes your tickets, like tickets please type thing, and you don't have to give him the tickets. You can fight him and beat him up, which I did. I defeated him, but it's kind of a tough fight. The fighting mechanics in the game are kind of like and I wasn't really good at them, and so I lost a lot of health in that battle. And then when I got to the maze part on the Zeppelin, I couldn't get very far. So
you just went back.
Yeah, I went back and I forced myself to figure out the whole ticket thing, which involves using your dad like a second character, and he has to distract the old man, and then you kind of like pickpocket his tickets. It seems obvious, but it seemed obvious. Like I think when he turned, you could see the tickets.
Yeah,
but it's just like getting it to happen was a little bit.
Yeah, because you had to switch control from Indy to his father, and then get his father to start talking to the guy with the tickets, and then you had to switch control back to Indy and have Indy grab the tickets out of his pocket when his head was turned. Yeah, which timing all that out was a little tricky because Indy's father could only keep the guy distracted for a little bit of time, and he kept turning away from Indy's father and looking behind him every so often, too. So you had to time it just right, or otherwise he would notice Indy stealing his Zeppelin tickets.
Yes. Yeah.
That was a little tricky. Yeah. There's all kinds of little tricky things like that in there.
Yeah.
There was one thing that I found out that became really useful was was figuring out how the what is command works. Which essentially that command wasn't really an action, is that you would just click on it, and then as you hovered the mouse around the screen, it would label any items that you could pick up or open or things like that. So that really helped out once I figured out how to use that command.
I don't remember figuring that out. I don't think I've ever figured that out. I think I would just click it and then click on an item, and I'm not sure I remember ever.
Well, I found that out in the library in Venice when you're looking through the books, because there's so many copies of books, and you're trying to find. There's only like 3 books that you could pick up, so trying to find the right one was a little tricky.
Again and again, the puzzles. I don't really remember just that ticket part. I can't really think of a lot of puzzles that were like really hard or illogical. Most of them seem to make fairly logical sense. So
I think the catacombs under the library is where seemed to be the place where there was the most puzzles, and they were pretty
Waylon, I don't remember rats, but I'm sure they were there. No, you don't fight rats.
You don't fight the rats. But there was what I would call adventure game type puzzles. There where you have to like turn dials and statues and things like to open doors.
Oh yeah, that's right. There was one,
and then
that were like images, and you had to
you'd use the Grail diary, the Grail diary that you had as an item in the game. You could look at it, and that was actually useful. Unlike the reprinted manual that came with the game.
I kept thinking, I kept looking at it too, the manual that came with it. I was like, this has to be more useful. Like, there has to be hints in this and stuff. But it was just really. It was just like flavor,
yeah, just to add to the game package, I guess.
Yeah, you would think that they would at least have some of the images and stuff, because there was, it just, I don't know.
So, which there was images that you needed to find your way into the catacombs in the library. You had to look for the correct stained glass to find out where you can get down into the catacombs. Mm-hmm. And which I guess that changes every time you play.
Huh.
So you have to look in the Grail diary that is a part of the game. It was just a matter of using the look at command.
Uh-huh.
And then it'd show you what you needed to see at that time.
Sometimes it was a little easy to forget that the Grail diary was there to look at.
Yeah, like usually, sometimes there was puzzles where it's like I couldn't figure it out right away, but then it dawned on me, and it's like, maybe this is something that I can find in the Grail diary, and lo and behold, it would work. And then there was other times where I'd look in the Grail diary, and Indy would tell me that doesn't seem very useful right now.
Yeah, I don't. So. That's about the only. Okay, now I remember the other part that gave me trouble was, I guess, the end, where you go into where the Grail is, that temple. And I remember the first part was where there's saw blades that come out.
Yeah.
And I remember that gave me trouble, but I don't remember why.
Well, if you walked too close to them, you'd get chopped up. And
what did you have to do to get past that?
Well, for me, I used the what is command and went around the screen, and I found a place where you can click on.
Oh, and then he like rolled or something.
Then he would go and roll through like you. There was like a little shiny spot, like a bright pixel in the dark that you clicked on it, and you clicked I think use the pickup action on it, and he would go to it, and he would jump over the blade that was on the floor, duck below the blade that was up in the ceiling. And he would get through there. I
think that's because I didn't figure out the what is command like you, so that's why it took me forever to figure out there's a certain spot you have to click.
Yeah, you just had to find that certain spot. Like, knowing the movie, I knew how he gets through there in the movie, but it was a little tricky to figure out how to do it in the game.
And then spell the name Jesus.
Jehovah.
Spell out Jehovah, but unlike in the movie where he just has to spell out Jehovah once, IEVOHA, that you had to continuously use those letters to step on tiles, because the tile area was a lot bigger than what it was in the movie.
So it wasn't as much like spelling out his name, it was just letters that were in his name.
Yeah. Just using the letters that are in Jehovah, using the Latin spelling. Yeah.
Or was it Hebrew spelling, maybe? I don't remember.
Yeah.
But the part after that is what got me stuck for a while, even though I think it was really easy.
The lion's head.
Yeah. I kept falling off.
Yeah.
Because everywhere I clicked, he'd fall off.
Yeah, I forget how I got past that.
I think you just click. I think it's super simple. I think it was something like, I just clicked on the other side, and then he would just walk across.
Yeah. Or like you couldn't look at it, or like if you did anything that to try to help you get across, like looking down into the canyon or something like that, like it would show that you didn't have faith.
I guess.
So then you wouldn't be able to cross, but if you just, I think it was just like you click walk to the other side of the canyon and he would walk across.
I guess that sort of makes sense now, how you put it. Like, not having faith is not just blindly clicking to the other side.
It was supposed to be a leap of faith is what the test was. So.
Yeah, but that one, because I knew, because I seen the movie, I knew what, but that was like, oh, do I have to look in the lion's mouth for, like, sand, throw on the invisible bridge? And then I was like, well, that wasn't there, so I was like, well, maybe it's just a certain spot that I have to, and I kept falling off.
And then, which, at that point, once you go into the caverns in the Grail's resting place, you can't save it, so you had to keep playing. Playing each one of those tests over and over again.
Yeah. And I mean...
Yeah,
that's really annoying, because you have to do the previous ones.
Right.
And although none of them were, like, hard, or once you do it once, it's easy.
Yeah.
But it's still...
just tedious. To keep
the
doing
letters
it over and over again.
Yeah, the letters one was the most tedious.
Yeah.
Of stepping on the right letter blocks or whatever.
Which, at first, like, I didn't realize that you had to keep using the same letters, so I just tried to spell out Jehovah, and I kept falling, and I was like, what? That's how you spell Jehovah?
Yeah.
Until I figured out that it's the letters, and that's how you get through.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, doing that over and over again was kind of annoying, because it took a while to get through there, because as you couldn't just click on each space, you had to wait for Indy to move and the animation to go. And
tedious.
Yeah.
And I think that happened with the end, too, where you choosing the goblet. Because it's like that you go into and there's a bunch of goblets.
Yes.
Or grails.
And I believe that was in the Grail Diary, where you find out which Grail to...
I just kept randomly picking ones until I finally got one that worked. So I had to go through that last place like 1,000 times over.
I got through that almost like right away because I looked in the Grail.
I did not. I also thought it was, so I picked like the wooden one. I went through and I was picking like the most simplest looking ones, and I kept
the movie.
Yes, and I kept dying. And
but there was a particular one with like a scene on it or something like carved on it. I believe.
I don't know. I wonder if that's random. Does the Grail you have to pick change?
That might have been one of the random things in which you use the Grail Diary to.
Yeah, so it's like kind of like getting into the place in Venice. It changes every game.
Yeah,
like something that randomizes. Yeah, and it was like the last or the second to last one that I picked since I was doing it through trial and error. So yeah, I did that part over and over and over and over. So. Would you say that the game follows the movie too much? It should have done more of its own thing, or do you like the fact that it followed the movie closely?
I kind of like that it followed.
Huh.
Yeah, I did like that it followed the movie, but it tried to deviate from the movie, but it just, I don't know if it did it very well.
Yeah, okay, that's
so.
There were some neat points, and I think they hit some of the key scenes from the movie, like you meet Hitler and you can have him sign the diary.
Which did you do that?
Yes.
So that helps you get past when you're traveling through the countryside of Germany or Austria or something. When you're on your as you're traveling through you get past all the guard gates by giving them by showing Hitler's signature. I think
I think maybe one of them. Some of them seemed like different things would get you past.
Yeah, you said you were an SS agent.
Yeah, you had to do you get like multiple choice because you had to talk to these guards and you had to kind of convince them to let you through. And I think how well you did in the part prior, you would go through less guard posts because the part prior was escaping the Zeppelin in the biplane. And
you crash.
Yeah.
And then you get the car. And then you're driving around.
Yeah. I wasn't very good at the airplane part. It was another...
I almost crashed immediately,
yeah, I did.
Maybe I remember going through a lot of guard posts, but I didn't have any trouble at any of the guard posts.
Okay.
And I think I had Hitler's signature or something to get me past all those.
Oh, I think I only had to go through like 2 or 3. Because, I think the better you do in the plane part, because you're in the biplane and there's German fighters coming in, and you have to, shoot them down, but it's another kind of awkward part of the game. Yeah. The controls are a little awkward there as well.
Yeah.
So I didn't get super far in that part, but I might have got a little further than you did, I think. Huh.
Yeah, I didn't really get far at all. I was shot down almost immediately.
Oh.
I I didn't even have time to really figure out the controls.
I see.
So, yeah.
Oh.
And I didn't bother going back because once I started getting through all the other parts after it wasn't. I didn't have any difficulties getting through the guard post, so I didn't seem necessary to go back at that point.
No problem at all. Barely an inconvenience.
Yeah, control.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't mind that it followed the movie that much either, though. Part of me does wish it maybe did a little bit more of its own thing, but I think you might have hit the nail on the head with it. It tried to deviate, it just didn't necessarily do it well.
Yeah. And it kind of lost the spirit of Indiana Jones, I think, in parts that it deviated. But I guess they did it. They did a pretty good job in incorporating the movie, not incorporating, but adapting the movie to a computer game.
Yeah.
So, is there anything else?
That's what I'm trying. Does Sean Connery get shot?
Yes, he does.
I don't remember. Oh yeah, he does. Yes, he does. Just like the movie.
Yeah. That was just like the movie.
Yes, Waylon. Mr. Connery gets shot.
Just checking.
Well, at least you actually played 5 minutes of this one, right?
6.
Oh, six. He played 6 minutes of it. That's better than what he played for Full Throttle, so I guess that's something. So do you have any more notes or points you would like to make?
How did it end?
Wait, how did it end? It's just like the movie ends. You get the... Yeah, it falls in the... There's an earthquake and it falls into the gap, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's just... That's how the movie went?
Yeah, that's how the movie went.
It's been a while.
Dr. Snyder, I don't think she was there. Donovan was there at the end, but I don't think Dr. Snyder was she?
She was trying to take the...
Maybe. Yeah, I think she was. It's been a really long time. I've seen the movie a couple times, but it's been a while since the last time.
In the movie, she's trying to she tries to take the cup out of there, crosses the seal, causes the earthquake. She falls down. Indy's trying to pull her up, but she's trying to reach for the grail. She won't give him her other hand, so she falls trying to reach for the grail. And then it earthquakes again, and Indy Jones. Indy falls down into the crack, and he's trying to reach the grail, and then his father says, "Let it go," and he does, and his father pulls him up to safety. But in the game, I think it's just Indy.
It's been a few months.
Yeah, but I don't think there's really anything you can do there. It's just kind of
story.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't know if I have anything else to add.
Motorcycle scene where Sean Connery...
Waylon wants to know if there's a scene with motorcycles.
After you leave the castle and go to Berlin, don't you?
Yes, you get to Berlin on the motorcycle. Waylon, you get to Berlin on a motorcycle, but it's more just like a cut screen scene sort of thing.
There's no fighting on the motorcycle or anything like that.
Yeah, it's just automatic. Like thing.
I think you go through one guard gate there, too.
I think so.
I think that's not all the questions I have.
Oh, okay. Well, then I guess, final thoughts and the grade.
Yeah. Overall, I thought it was an alright game. I think it was more difficult than it needed to be at some spots.
Like the castle?
The castle, and just the fighting in general is just tricky. Which after fighting so many guards on the Zeppelin, I did get a little better at it, where I could fight and not lose so much life.
Right.
But yeah, overall, it was all right. I liked it because it was a Indiana Jones themed game. It wasn't the greatest game. So for my grade, I'll give it a C-.
A little bit better than I would. I was just going to give it a straight C. Just completely average. Maybe. C- is borderline mediocre, I guess, but
I'd say it's below average. That's what C-.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I give it.
It wasn't completely terrible.
No, it wasn't a terrible game, but it just nothing in it really jumped out to me or really stood out. It was just what it was. It didn't seem to do anything terribly bad, but it didn't seem to do anything like really great either. So I'm still I'll give it a C. So that's a C and then a C-. And Waylon, are you gonna give it your default C grade because you didn't play it?
C
yeah,
sharp.
that's
Okay. So Waylon gives it a C sharp.
Whatever that means. So yeah, Indiana Jones, the graphic adventure, worth playing if you're an Indiana Jones fan. Maybe even worth playing if you're an adventure game fan. But I wouldn't expect anything great or special. It's just, like I said, it just is what it is. It's just, it's very average.
It's a game to play for nostalgia reasons.
All right,
That's
well,
about it.
that's all we have to say about Indiana Jones, the graphical adventure. So this is episode 2. If you liked it, let us know in the comments, or
Remember, I don't read the comments.
If you like this video, let us know in the comments. You have any suggestions or comments, anything like that?
You can be brutal.
Waylon says you can be brutal with them. Waylon, you didn't. The last video we did had like 2 comments. One was Cadillac Jack correcting us because apparently we said Full Throttle was written or done by Paul Schaefer or whatever, the guy from the Tonight Show.
Did
the
we?
bald guy? Yeah, it was an accident. It was I said Paul Schaefer.
Oh.
And instead of, I think it was supposed to be Tim Schaefer, maybe.
Tim Schaefer,
Yeah, but Cadillac Jack corrected us on that one. And then all the rest there was like 2 or 3 more comments, Waylon, and they were all directed towards you.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they were awesome.
Makes me feel good. People talk about me.
Yep. So anyways, yeah.
So this is Anthony.
And this is Justin.
And I'm Waylon.
And see you in the next one. Guaranteed for at least one more.